I'm putting this up here just to show YouTube that I am operating within the guidelines of fair use, which allows to use segments of material I do not own the rights for in order to criticize and express an opinion. Just as any democratic, free speech supporting platform would do. I'm not going to make any money out of this, and everything I upload here will be for the sole purpose of reviewing, critique, and expressing opinions about what's going on and what went on the Fully Living. So first and foremost, I would like us to watch together how Andrea tells us about finishing the whole process of evaluation for Abigail for autism. These are her words. It's from a video that was dedicated mostly to this, with all the explanations, but this is the final conclusion.
This moment, she is not diagnosed with anything, and that concludes the evaluation until...
She was not diagnosed with autism, which was the main reason why Andrea took her to the evaluation. So no autism diagnosis at all. Of the doctors in Israel of Abby's evaluation. Is she autistic or not?
Diagnosis is undetermined.
And this means that Abigail was not diagnosed as autistic. However, they decided that she is in need of a few therapies because she does have some developmental issues, which of course you can see until today. What did they recommend? Let's see.
And that she has these 3 therapies: physiotherapy, communication therapy, and language therapy.
Now, you have to remember that quite shortly after this diagnosis, they left for America, the whole family. We never, ever got to see Abigail being taken to any of these therapies. And as you can see, communication and speech therapy were recommended when she was 2-3 years old. She is now 6 going on 7 years old and only now taken to these therapies. And as for physical therapy, there is no evidence she was ever taken to anything like that. Or any other therapy that is recommended for children with autism or any kind of other problem, really, although it was clear that she is suffering from multiple issues. Quite the opposite. She got to stay at home and not attend any kind of educational system at all. Not a kindergarten, not a daycare, not a school, nothing. She doesn't know what a class looks like from the inside. She does not know how to interact with other children. She didn't have that experience. It's not her fault. So what they did in this case is they took this child with all these needs, extra needs, pinned her as autistic, so named her autistic online, and I will show you the examples right here. And now this last video is continuing that narrative of autism. But even worse, in the description of the video, I'm going to read the second sentence. Andrea writes, Abigail has what was formerly known as Asperger's syndrome and is now diagnosed as autism spectrum disorder or ASD. She's very bright and communicative, but needs some help in some areas. So this is bluntly saying, very openly, that there is a diagnosis of ASD for Abigail. However, there is absolutely no evidence shown anywhere of Abigail actually getting this diagnosis, going through the process of evaluation, nothing. After they left Israel, there is no evidence. And I am wondering what, because if Abigail indeed had this evaluation and diagnosis in the United States and was still left at home with no therapy whatsoever given to her, without any socializing without being introduced properly to other children's company, without giving her any tools or developing skills that she would need as an autistic child, depriving her of any kind of intervention that would be crucial in those ages for her success, then what are we actually talking about here? Because there are not even excuses that can make sense. And although I'm not from Florida, I find it very hard to believe that Florida, and especially the area of Ocala, is lacking in such a way that a child cannot find help, especially for autistic children. So just a quick search on Google and look at what I found. Florida Autism Center in Ocala. Specializing in early childhood development, early intervention ABA therapy is necessary for developmental growth for toddlers and young kids. Our distinguished Sprouts and Sprigs program is individualized by design to help young children with ASD in learning and excelling in the areas of communication, language, safety skills, social skills, transitioning into a school setting, skills needed for continued learning, and caregiver guidance. Now, I am pretty sure this is not the only form of resources that Ocala has. So basically, if I'm getting this picture correctly, there's two options. Either she was never really diagnosed with ASD, Abigail is not diagnosed with ASD, which is what I personally believe. This is my opinion. Or she was secretly, covertly, somehow, without talking about it, without mentioning it, without filming it, diagnosed, but then was never taken to any therapy that was actually recommended for her, and at the same time was also deprived from attending any kind of autism help center in the area. So which do you choose, Andrea? Which would put you in better light? The lying, the labeling, or the deprivation? Because it can't work both ways. You can't tell us that you were taking her to therapies this whole time without showing anything when you show every single step that Raphael does and did. And judging by the way you waited so anxiously to get to this video, the sheer excitement to be able to share news about Abigail's new issues that are formally written on a piece of paper, it just doesn't make any sense. So if anyone can think of a third option that does not involve lying or any sort of possible neglect, please let me know. Which option is it? I am open to any explanation to try to figure out what has been going on with this child, what is the truth, and help understand what is the real picture here.